Communities. The fairgrounds is already there. There's two large buildings. For those of you who may not have been in both buildings, the older building, the south building, is the one that we've been talking about taking over for our Home and Garden Show. But there's another very large building to the north. It's in great condition. It's relatively new, but it doesn't have restrooms, doesn't have heat, doesn't have a kitchen, doesn't have a meeting room, storage, that sort of thing. So for a long time, people have been looking at that north building and thinking, when are we going to finish it? If we could rent it more throughout the year, the county's income would improve a great deal. In fact, a number of years ago, I was hired by the then commissioners to do a cost-benefit study. And it's pretty easy to say that if that building was finished and we could rent it more often, and if more marketing was done for the fairgrounds, that the economic benefits to the surrounding businesses and the tax base would be really huge.
It's actually projects like the Home and Garden Show, things like that that are going to make the fairgrounds at least minimize its losses, if not make it profitable. It doesn't take much of a business owner to know that a business model loses an average of $180,000 over the past 3 or 4 years per year, though. This is about $180,000 per year. It's just an unsustainable business model. I don't care if it's a government or it's actual private business, you can't do it. So, and the biggest, the most striking problem about the fairgrounds that we found through this early project going was the loss in the sense of community that surrounded the fairgrounds. It's not the Buena Vista, the Salida, the Poncha Springs fairgrounds, it's the Chaffee County fairgrounds. Even though there's some people who would love for it to be the Buena Vista fairgrounds or the Salida fairgrounds. It's not, it's the Chaffee County fairgrounds. Aside from our annual fair, the community heavily underutilizes the fairgrounds. And this is really well demonstrated through the amount of revenue it loses every month, or every year, and then through the amount of opposition that this, loose group received when they first started pitching this idea to various entities. So it's been an interesting road pitching it to various county agencies and individuals. People are definitely afraid of change out there, and there's not everybody. There's certain individuals that are, and the amount of opposition they pose is pretty surprising, actually, considering the amount of money it loses.
So what this group, this economic development group, this loosely formed group of citizens just talking about the whole thing, decided was, we know the county doesn't have money to spend on these improvements. We're all in an economic downturn. So what we decided was, let's form a Friends of the Fairgrounds group. We'll do the work ourselves. We'll go out, seek out the grant money, seek out the investments, do fundraising events, all as volunteers. If any of you are familiar with the Friends of the Steam Plant, it's the same kind of thing. They're nonprofit, so they can do some things that the government agencies and the government groups cannot do. So what we proposed was, Town of Poncha Springs, County Commissioners, please just give us your blessing, and we'll go out and raise as much money as we can, turn it over to you for improving the fairgrounds. And what we want specifically is, first of all, to improve that second building, put in restrooms, a kitchen, all the things it needs to be a fully functioning building that can be rented out. Second of all, build a bank of restrooms and showers that all the people who attend events at the fairgrounds can use. When I was involved a few years ago, for example, we brought in the Airstream rally, and they came here several years. But what they told me was, Skye, if you just have that bank of restrooms and showers for those of us who don't have the newer trailers, it would make this place a lot more attractive to us. And thirdly, to improve the RV parking. That RV parking was designed years ago. The spaces are too short for today's modern RVs. We don't have full hookups for more than, I think, a dozen, if that. And we don't have a place, a dump. What do you call that? Well, you know what I mean. I don't want to say it over breakfast. So that's the order That's the priority of the things that the Friends of the Fairgrounds Friends, calling ourselves, want to do out there. We think it's very viable. We think that it would be a great asset to the entire area. I was involved in doing the marketing for getting a number of the groups out there, and I got a lot of good feedback from them. There are a lot of people who are happy to come here. They just need to add that little extra bit of things that they expect from a facility like this in order to attract them.
We, one of the concerns that's been raised is that this group is just going to go out there and make changes or, raise money for changes that don't necessarily apply to the fair grounds or coincide with what the fair board needs as well. So part of this group is going to be involving all the stakeholders that are involved with the fairgrounds, including the Chaffey County Fair Board, the Wednesday Night Roping Club, the 4-H group, and then any other individuals or businesses that can utilize the fairgrounds as an event center as well, so things like the home garden show. Because everybody uses it. It is a community center. It's a community resource, and we need to involve everybody in it. So where we're at right now, I met with the county commissioners yesterday in the public meeting, and received good response. I'll be going before them again on the 7th to get hopefully their official final blessing. And then we went before the town of Poncha Springs and the fair board, and that was a little bit rougher, but we're working through it, working with them. But the big ones are the Chaffey County commissioners. We have to have their full blessing on this, and they seem very receptive to it yesterday. So that's it.
Any questions about specifics, Mark?
Do you think that the fairgrounds brings in money like the pool or the steam plant, even though it loses a lot of money? That's always the retort that you'll hear, especially from Democrats, not from Republicans.
I'm not sure if I understand what you mean.
Yeah, how can it bring in money when it's losing money?
Oh.
Well, yeah, Mickey and I sometimes talk about this when we're all wet about the pool.
Yeah.
If Mickey and I got together with the pool, we'd make it,
Yeah.
but it brings in money even though it loses money.
Well, the
is that-
reason, that's a really good question. Thank you, now that I understand it.
It's kind of weird.
The reason we're not making more money from the fairgrounds even now, the way they are, is that we have one employee out there, Jim Mick, who's phenomenal. If any of you know him and know what he does, he's amazing, but he can only do so much. Jim is not a marketer. He's not somebody who can keep databases and track potential renters and that sort of thing. So part of what we want to do, and I forgot about this, was to raise enough money to get somebody in to help market the fairgrounds. Again, when I was involved, all it took was a phone call to get the Airstreamers here, the BMW rally, some of the other rallies. It's not hard to market it, it just takes somebody doing it. So yeah, we can make quite a bit of money.
Mark, you were talking about the economic impact to the community, right?
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
And I think it would be impossible, even though the place loses money, the economic impact has to far exceed that. Because those people have to eat, they have to have lodging, they have to buy gas, they have to buy beer. They have to do a lot of supplemental things associated with their business. There's no question. I don't know if anybody's actually done an economic study of the fairgrounds or not. The board has. The fairground board would be the one that would drive that to show the economic value.
Actually, there was a study done in 2007. That's the one I was talking about earlier. Actually, the fair board is different from a fairgrounds board. And that's a little bit of a question in some people's minds, but the fair board is actually in charge of the fair. Just so you know.
The beer festival this last weekend might have raised about $60,000, whatever it raised.
That's right.
To benefit the Brewers Association in the chamber. Might have done that. It did do that. But associated with that was the economic impact to the community, which, was lodging.
They're all sold out.
All those drunks had to sleep overnight. They had to buy a hotel. It was either that or Pete was going to give them all tickets, we get revenue that way.
If anybody's interested in the study, I've got it in electronic form, happy to send it to you. It's one of those things that'll help you sleep at night if you have trouble. But it does contain all those figures. We took a very conservative look at things when the study was done. We overestimated the expenses and underestimated the benefits.
Who actually owns the property that the fair sits on?
The town of Poncha Springs actually owns the fairgrounds property, and then it's leased to Chamber County.
It's on a 25-year lease, and they just signed up a few years ago.